Hello, I am super excited to read your toes this morning. And as you can see, we've got our three pictures. So this was taken on October 15th. This is picture one. This was taken on October 21st. So just just 6 days later. And then this was taken on October 26th. And so just tracking the differences in your toes. Now you can see there's clearly very different lightings on these. I'm going to do most of the reading from your most recent picture, but let's just talk about, even though these are different lightings, there's still a lot of things that we can see. And just generally speaking, even with lighting taken into account, these feet seem healthier, happier, better circulation than these feet. And that is just like, that's not even 2 weeks since you had that. And that's because once we identify the energy, it can start to move. It just wants to be seen. And once we see it, then we can do something about it. Then it will honestly start to just move itself. There may still be additional work that we need to do with it, but the energy starts moving once we see it. And this has to do also here with this Scorpio energy. So you've got two planets and your North Node in the sign of Scorpio. And so Scorpio is about the shadows. Scorpio is the god of the underworld. Or Pluto is. Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. So Scorpio is all about transformation. It's about shadow work. It's about diving into the depths. Scorpio is deep, deep, deep waters. And then Pluto is its ruler. And Pluto is the planet that we can't ever see unless you've got a really strong telescope. It's out in the dark in space. And Pluto in mythology is the god of the underworld. So Pluto also has to do with death and rebirth, transformation, and again, shadows. So not even 2 weeks ago, but on October 15th, we started to shine the light on some of the shadows and it started to move. So let's first of all talk about this big toe, and particularly about the protrusion with the big toe. This is one of the biggest differences that I noticed in your toes over the last 12 days. So if we look here, we've got this protrusion of this toe coming up, and this toe is leaning and really kind of pushing into that second toe. So remember, right foot is life path, left foot is spirit path. And so when we look here and then we look here, still have some protrusion going on, but it's lessened. And more importantly, it's continuing to lessen, because if we look at where the nails are, remember in toe reading, the nails are the first places that change happens. So looking at your nails is your indicator of, am I moving into or out of alignment? You are moving into greater alignment, and here is why. This toe nail is really like, it just follows this toe and is really pointing that way. It's starting to turn a little bit here. And then look at this one. Like, this toenail is so much straighter. And look at this protrusion. Like, there is still some, but it is moving. It is moving. Now, in your first reading, we talked about how this protrusion here indicates on both sides, really, but indicates not speaking your truth, not saying something so you keep the peace, conforming to others' wishes, or compromising yourself in some way for someone or something else. And you're doing it. You're making those changes. We can see it here. If we track the toenail definitely making some changes, and then coming down, down the foot here. So just so you know, this picture is the same as this picture. I just removed the background from it. And So just you can see here how this toenail is definitely on the right track and leaning more present, more grounded, and big difference in um, the protrusion here in the size of it when we come back here and look at this. So well done. You're definitely more in alignment, definitely more on the right track. Keep it up. Definitely keep up the good work on this. Continue to massage, pushing in gently on the protrusion there, and then out on the top, wearing your toe shoes. Love the toe shoes. I think I told you when we were together, when I broke my toe, that was when I bought my first pair of toe shoes. Yes, that toe was telling me something. But I bought my first pair of toe shoes and it was a lifesaver. It healed that toe up so nice. So those toe shoes are great for just this separation of the toes, which is something that we want. We want these toes to just be a little bit more independent. Okay, so life path, you're doing it. It's great. You've even got a little more flexibility in the way that you are showing up and the way that people are experiencing you and in the way that you're moving through the world. Our spirit path toe, your spirit path toe here, as we see, is also making some changes when we look back here. This was interesting because the toe is this way, but then that nail wants to turn this way. We can see some changes starting to happen here. And then when we get to this toe, we can really see that this toenail is starting to level out, be more grounded, and this toe is moving as well. And so nice job, shining the light on these things, coming back to get this full reading. Like, you're doing the stuff. Now with this toe, I would continue to recommend, well, with both toes, but I would say especially for your spirit path toe, again, pushing in on the protrusion, pushing out on the toe, stretching it out. So some questions for you to ask yourself here are, what is the next step in my life path? How can I be more in alignment with my spirit path? And what do these things look like? And start to parse out what's cultural programming, etc., and what's just you. And so starting to tease that apart, because we still have some, I don't like to use it as a diagnostic word, but some of this codependence going on between these toes. So this is another thing that I thought was super interesting, was if we look at this picture, so the first picture, this toe's leaning into this toe, and same here, although look at how much less that toe is leaning into that other toe. Then we see here, so this is kind of like the change toe. This toe's like, oh, turning into that toe. Are you sure we want to do this? You can see that toenail leaning in there. And then here, this toe is starting to kind of stand on its own. And honestly, looks a lot like that. So I'm going to encourage you, keep this toe straight, because what we are seeing is a pattern that could happen with this toe. So track this toe. And that is, do you see the difference between this toe and this toe? So here we are again, 12 days later. You can see the change that happened here. This toe is feeling a little scared. Okay. Your communication expression toe, in the way that you are with the outside world, is feeling kind of scared. This is normal. This is natural for the collective, and especially for women, because as a collective of women through history, and if you look back in your ancestry, there are women that you are likely related to, if not directly, indirectly, or through the collective, that have had their voices literally cut off, hanging, choking, and other violence against women in their throat chakra. So talking about the chakras is a little out of the scope of this, but we can definitely talk about it in the one-on-one. The throat chakra is the chakra of the second toe. And so gently twisting this toe so that the toenail starts to be more upright and not twisting towards that other toe. And then if it's comfortable, and only if it's comfortable, because we never want to force the energy. We just want to invite the energy. That's how energy moves. Just like we can see the movement that's happened through shining the light. And then if you've been doing the manual manipulation and the affirmations that we've talked about, you can see that it's really making a difference. So just gently twisting that toe so that it doesn't lean into or turn to face that other toe quite so much. Now, the other thing that this is doing, and this is something that I'm finding really interesting, is remember when we were together the first time, how I pulled your toes apart, and we talked about this being the leadership toe and the intuition, the channel of intuition. So continue to do that for both of these toes, and just affirmation would be, I'm opening up my channel of intuition. Intuition right here in the brow chakra. Intuition. Intuition is your birthright. When we look at your chart here, you've got a lot of Scorpio energy. And Scorpio is a very intuitive sign. So when I say it's your birthright, it is absolutely your birthright to have this open channel of intuition. My guess is that as a child, you were an expressive and communicative and insightful and intuitive child. And that probably got beaten right out of you, either literally or figuratively. Those are not qualities that have historically been appreciated. And it's time for that to change. You have the opportunity to change that now. Intuition is your birthright. So also with these second toes, remember, left foot is internal, right foot is external. These toes are our expression and communication toes. And I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about that, because your moon is over here in Gemini. Your moon is your non-negotiable needs. Your moon is your emotional self. So as a child, again, I bet you're active, inquisitive, all of these things that may not have always been appreciated by people who were trying to control you. And the other thing is, we have this here. This is called your part of fortune. This is your channel with which you bring in prosperity, which has to do with these little toes here. So your part of fortune is also in the sign of Gemini. Your prosperity channel is through communication and expression. And with this sixth toe that you've got here, this will have global impact. Global in this world that we're in, and global in clearing for your ancestors back and clearing for your offspring forward. You know, your progenitors, your legacy people. Your expression and communication. And so this is an area. So here's another exercise for you. Is just, if you look at my picture, just right here gently on your throat, just open. Oh, I can feel your throat chakra. Yes. Just gently open up this throat chakra, and then do it on the back of your neck too. The throat chakra is, in the middle of our energetic body. So it would be at the midpoint here, in our necks. So for you, just expanding that out in a way that feels good. If you have any blue crystals, um, blue crystals are great to put on your throat chakra. So those would be really good things for you to do. There's a lot of generational stuff here. And I know this also, not just from looking at those toes, which again, I want to spend a significant amount of time talking about those toes because it is your non-negotiable needs to express, to communicate. And it's the way that you bring prosperity and live your life path. Here in the 12th house, and if you don't understand about the houses, that's completely fine. You don't need to. But these little numbers here, these are the different houses as they go around your unique birth chart. The 12th house is about what we're here to transcend, what we are here to move through in this life in order to progress. It's about evolution. But transcendence is really the word I like to think about. Now, when we look at your 12th house here, the program even had to come down and add just a little bit more here. You've got a Sagittarius rising sign, which is awesome. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But your 12th house comes down here and grabs all of these signs. If you look at all the other houses, you've got 2 here, and you've got 2 here. Here, you've got 3 planets in your north node. Okay, the sun is considered a planet in astrology. So you've got your sun here in Scorpio in your 12th house. Your north node, so your sun represents your ego, who you are. Your north node represents the area of your life where you are called to stretch into. Okay, so it is in the sign of Scorpio. It is also at 28 degrees. Okay, when you look at all the other numbers, these are just minutes into the degrees, so don't worry about those numbers. It's all these with the degrees sign. If you look at all of these other degrees, 28 is the highest degree there, the latest degree. So this amplifies this north node because what's at the latest degree is the generational pattern that you are called in this lifetime to release and let go. And in your north node, this is what you are called to stretch into. Transformation. My guess is that you come from a long line of women who have been forced truly at some points in history through threat of death, whether that was actual like being executed in some way or being rejected, which, in some parts of the world now, and for many centuries in all parts of the world, if you were rejected from the group, like you were as good as dead. And so our animal brain is on overdrive when we feel like we are being threatened. So you've got a lot of generational patterns around communication and expression because people have not been allowed to do that and indeed have been persecuted and executed for doing that. The great news is that where we live and when we live now, you don't need to worry about that. Your animal brain has one job. It's to keep you alive. That's its only job. It doesn't care if you're happy. It doesn't care if you transcend. It doesn't care what work you're doing. It cares about keeping you alive. And so your animal brain may jump on overdrive because it's got generations of programming around if you express yourself, it's dangerous. And it can feel very dangerous. So that's when we move things forward. So here's just a little technique. If you put your fingers here and your fingers here, and you just tie those together. Here's another one. Actually, I'm being invited. Get these 2 fingers here. Put them right here between your eyes. Put your other 2 fingers right here. So on your third eye, up here in your prefrontal cortex, and put the back of the other hand here on the back of your head. And what that does is it starts to calm the central nervous system and pull what's here in the back of your head up here into your prefrontal cortex, because you might feel like it's dangerous and like you might die if you self-express, but you know that you really won't. And so just moving that in. And then I like to take an extra step when I'm like this. And then I actually think about, once I moved it from here to here, moving it down into my heart, so that I don't only know it, but that I feel it. So yes, this North Node in Scorpio, in the 12th house. Now, I want to talk about one other thing, and that is the fact that Pluto, who is the ruler of Scorpio, is sitting here at 0 degrees of Virgo. And Virgo is about wholeness. 0 degrees is what you come into this life. And it's kind of like the beginning mission. And you are bringing wholeness to the generations through transformation. The work that you're already doing, the work that brought you to my booth at the convention, and then here again now. Also, you've got Jupiter here in Virgo. So I'm going to guess that you are involved somehow in health as a career. And I'd like to talk to you more about that, because Jupiter is the expander, and Jupiter is the planet of joy. And it's in Virgo, the sign of wholeness, the sign of wholeness. That's what I really like to think of it as. Virgos can get a bad rap for, being, sticklers and building these systems and things like that. Virgos want wholeness. Now, what I find interesting is we just talked about Virgo, and Mercury down here is the ruler of Virgo. Mercury is also the ruler of Gemini, which is where your moon and your part of fortune is. Now, what's interesting, Mercury is also in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is about expansion. Sagittarius is about philosophy. Sagittarius is about exploration. The archetype of Sagittarius is the explorer. And you see the little arrow here that is the glyph. Now, it's also Sagittarius and Gemini are polarities in the zodiac. That just means they sit on opposite sides of the zodiac. And so while your rising sign is Sagittarius and your moon sign is Gemini, that's a beautiful combination. I have a lot of Gemini energy in my chart. This is part of the reason why we've come together, because as a Sagittarius rising, you attract Gemini people. It would be interesting for you to go through the people that are close to you and see how many of them are Geminis. But anyway, so Mercury is here in Sagittarius, and that's a beautiful combination here. So let Mercury do some work for you here. And Saturn is also a sign of Sagittarius. Now let's go back to this 12th house, because that's where this discussion started. And again, if there's anything that you don't understand, write the question down or email me the question, text me the question, so that I can answer them for you. And we will have that time also to discuss this when we have our one-on-one Zoom call. Things that are in the 12th house, this is interesting, are what we're here to transcend. And you've got all of these here. So doesn't this fit in perfectly with the North Node? Because Mercury is the ruler of these toes of expression and communication. And yet Mercury is here in your 12th house. Think of all of these little planets as being suitcases in the 12th house that you get to open and unpack and see what's in them in this lifetime. So this entire idea of expression and communication is one of the things that you are here to do, and that is to unpack this and decide what is in alignment for you as far as expression and communication, and then stop compromising yourself to keep the peace. You're not here to be a peacemaker. I'm going to say that again. You are not here to be a peacemaker. You are here to create transformation and change. You got the sixth toe over here. You've got expression is very high value. Doesn't surprise me at all. You can't make this stuff up. Your moon over here in Gemini, these are your non-negotiable needs. And when we don't meet our non-negotiable moon needs, we start to spiritually die. Mercury. And then we've got Saturn here. Saturn is the Time Lord. Saturn is the restrictor. Saturn gets a bad rap because Saturn can be very, very strict. Saturn is strict because Saturn cares about us being successful. Saturn is like, let's bring it in. What's your focus? Let's be successful. You get to unpack that. Furthermore, Saturn is not super happy in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is a sign of expansion. And then Saturn is a sign of restriction. And so unpacking that, some questions around that, especially as it pertains to your life and spirit path toes and your communication toes, is where have you been restricted? And is it time to release that? Where have you restricted others? And will you forgive yourself for that, realizing that it was part of the path so you could learn? So super interesting stuff that we have going on here. We'll refer back to this chart as we continue the reading. So let's move on next to your action toes. So this toe getting some flexibility in it. When we look back to here, this toe wasn't particularly inflexible, but it wasn't particularly flexible. Being flexible is important, especially since Gemini is very strong in your chart, as is Sagittarius as your rising. Those are both flexible signs on the light side. Okay, Sagittarius can be extremely rigid and unbending in the shadow. And so having this energy in your action toe, even just looking at this, and granted, there's lighting things, but let's just look at these toes in the three pictures. So here we've got your left toe, pretty solid, blocked energy in here, but pretty straight. Action is important to you. You are definitely a person of action. Here, we got some blocked energy. As you are moving through this, you're moving through this stuff. Here, look at this toe. Let's just look at it. Leans less. This is a better picture. It leans less into the action toe. It's straighter, and there's better circulation in it now. Let's look at this toe. Much more flexibility here. Here, it turned away for a little while. It was looking to the future. But through the work that you're doing on yourself, you've built some flexibility. So with this toe, I would recommend pushing down on that middle knuckle, because there is, in both of these toes, in your communication toe and your action toe, there is some energy that needs to be released in there. So just getting your toe, if this is your toe, and just pressing it like that would be very beneficial for you. All right, relationship toes. These were other ones that were really interesting to look at. So blocked energy. This one's hiding a little bit under your action toe. Moving that energy. You can see the energy moving here. And then here we go. Just look at the difference in this toe on your right side, particularly. Here, hiding a little bit, looking to the future. Here, bending, releasing energy, looking to the future. Here, it's straight up. So The way that you're showing up in your relationships, and I can't wait to hear more about this, is serving you. Okay, it's aligned. This is a very aligned toe. Your relationship with yourself, stop looking to the future and be in the present moment. Transformation, there are mile markers along the path of transformation, but there's not a destination. The path is the destination. So don't look to the future. This is going to happen for you. It's going to flow for you. You've done a lot of work and it's going to flow for you. So don't look to the future. Just be here in the present moment. I can also tell you've done a lot of work because these last toes, these prosperity and trust toes. So if we look here and here and here and here, they look similar, pretty similar. You got little future looking going on here. Sometimes this can happen when we get hopeful, when we're starting to see results. We're like, hey, if I did this, if I just keep going. Again, working on being present. This toe in this picture was totally looking to the future, prosperity and trust toes. This toe is starting to turn up. Whew. Excuse me. When I do yawns, when I have yawns in these readings, it's because there's energy being released. That's beautiful. I can feel that energy releasing. I think it's from the throat chakra. Yeah, that's beautiful. Awesome. Just take a moment to pay attention to your throat chakra. And if you feel any tightness in that, I invite you to just invite the light to come in and clear out the tightness, any restriction that you feel in your throat. Your throat chakra, as I said before, is the chakra ruler for these second toes. And these second toes are extremely important for you in this lifetime. Little toes here, okay? This toe again, starting to turn upward. But this is what I found really interesting. Can we look at these toes right here? You were really moving a lot of energy over the last 12 days, and it came down through your body and was released. This is our earth toe. So this is a connection point to the earth. The earth mother loves to take that energy because she can transmute it and change it. The energy just changes and she can change that for us. So you were moving a ton of energy through these little toes down into the earth, and we can just see the difference in the last few days of that. So we're going to move here. Anyway, no, actually, I'm going to go back here. So good job. 12 days. There's a lot of differences going on here. A lot of forward moving energy for you to accomplish your goals and transcend what you're here to transcend. All right, let's talk about some exercises for these toes. Continue to do the first toe exercise like we talked about, where you're gently pushing in and pushing out. So pushing in on the, there's another one. I can't wait to see your toes when we have our call in a few days, because you're releasing more energy. Time isn't real. And as I'm speaking this, you're releasing energy. As you're listening to this, you're releasing energy. That's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. So pushing in gently on the protrusion, out gently at the top of the toe. Do that on both toes. And then the question or mantra to ask here is, what would bring more alignment to my life and spirit path? What can I release and let go to bring me into greater alignment on my life and spirit path? And then with your second toes, if it feels good, massage the left toe, but there's no therapeutic massage required on that. Unless it starts to track like this toe has, where it was like this, and now with the work that you're doing, it's actually feeling a little bit of a codependent energy and turning in. Not 100% sure that communication and expression is safe. So with this toe, we're going to gently twist this top part so that it's more straight. And right here with that blocked energy, pushing down on that. So a gentle twisting here and a pushing down on that to create a more straight channel to release that energy. Your action toes, again, just some gentle massage. You've got a little bit of blocked energy here, a little bit of blocked energy here. So just continuing to massage those toes. What is my next action? Is a really good question to ask there. Your relationship toes, continue to just rub those to release energy. Same with your little toes. And this is just going to present more layers for you to peel back. Now, I want to talk about, again, these your intuitive channel and these communication toes. These toes, when you're doing this, when I say doing this, I mean when you are massaging them, here are some questions to ask. What am I not communicating? What is it time for me to communicate? Release what no longer serves me. And I like to use the language that no longer serves me because staying quiet, not speaking your truth, compromising yourself to keep the peace, like that did serve a purpose, right? It's not something that just didn't serve you. You wouldn't have done it if it didn't serve you. It just may not serve you now. And so just asking to release it. You don't even need to know what it is. If you need to know, it's going to become clear. But just release what no longer serves me so that I can fully express and communicate. I would love to explore with you the possibility of, in your work, using your voice and your expression, whether that's speaking or writing, teaching classes, but something about using your voice, and then focus on using your voice, your vocal communication when you're with people. Being aware of what your body and your words are communicating to people. You are extraordinarily smart, and it's okay to let that show. That's part of your expression. Remember your little suitcases here in the 12th house. It's interesting that Mercury is very, very close opposition to your moon. And your moon is here in Gemini. And Gemini is all about communication. This is part of your life purpose. This is actually a huge part of your spirit path, is unpacking this little Mercury suitcase. Mercury, which is all about communication and expression, and freeing yourself, freeing your voice. And as you do this, especially because this is in the 12th house, this will go back generations and forward generations and really bring about a great deal of your life purpose. And it's really where your fortune lies. It's the way that you will bring fortune to yourself with the part of fortune here, which is actually another, it's not shown on this chart, but Saturn in Sagittarius and your part of fortune are also opposition, but it's not a tight opposition. So to accomplish getting an opposition is just an opportunity. Okay. Don't get worried about oppositions. They're just on opposite ends. It's an opportunity to bring the energies together. It's an opportunity to open up each box independently. It's like if it was a jigsaw puzzle, but the pieces were in two separate boxes. And when you bring those boxes together and spread them out on the table, then you can complete the jigsaw puzzle. We can definitely explore this more. So doing those exercises, those affirmations, you're on the right path. You are 100% on the right path. We go back to here and just look at the difference over the last 12 days. I can't wait to see another 12 days, 12 weeks, 12 months from now. It's really spectacular. Well done. I can't wait to talk to you on Monday.